Welcome to the Tales of the Realm, a series where we recount the great many tales from the world of Final Fantasy XIV. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the complete story of Alexander, a raid introduced in the Heavensward expansion that features a beloved and recurring Final Fantasy summon. I'll be honest, the time I played through the Alexander raids, I wasn't really paying attention to the story. But this time around, I was all ears, making for a much more enjoyable experience. And I'm glad I can share that experience with you. Whether you're like me and didn't pay enough attention when you played it yourself, or if you just want to refresh your memory, and maybe, even if you're just in the mood for an interesting story, this video has got you covered. I'm Peter from Birds of Play, and if you end up liking the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out some of our other complete story videos. But anyway, we're going deep into the machine, and I hope you'll be with us for every gear we turn. Since the Shalayan Exodus, our structure has stood steady and still against the flow of the Thaliak River. But now, the Illuminati, a secret fraternity of goblin scholars, have summoned a Primal around this rustling ruin. A terrible colossus of steam and metal that drinks deep of the land's ether, threatening to render the surrounding area lifeless within the space of but a few moons. Joined by Cid's Ironworks, as well as the goblin Roundrocks, and an aura treasure hunter calling herself Mide, the warrior of light enters the metal giant in the hope of locating and destroying its core. As they navigate their way through the Colossus, they find their path blocked by a host of goblins. At their head stands Quickthink's Allthoughts, Grand Master of the Illuminati, who informs Mide that the thing she seeks lies elsewhere, prompting a laughing machinist at his side to mention something called the Alexander Initiative. Before Quickthinks can censure his loose-lipped underling, Mide opens fire, causing the bombs on the goblins' back to detonate, enabling them to make their escape. Upon their next incursion into the Colossus, they are joined by none other than Cid himself, who, upon noticing Mide searching through the belongings of fallen goblins, asks what she is looking for. She tells him that her prize is the Enigma Codex, a tome written some 100 years past, apparently holding the plans for a variety of technological wonders. Chief among these is the invention known as Alexander, a walking citadel designed to serve as a bastion of reason and logic. Plainly, it is this ideal that gave form to the Illuminati's Primal. Having once again regrouped, the party enters Alexander, encountering Quickthinks and the Illuminati, the Grand Master announcing that he has been searching for the missing piece required to make the world perfect, prompting Cid to fire back that his perfect world will be nothing more than a dead star due to the Primal's nature. Alas, no words will dissuade the Illuminati from the course, and the goblins soon depart to enact their plan. Sensing Cid's frustration, Mide reveals that she knows how to shut down the Primal's core, and Roundrocks adds that she can assist in identifying its location. Together, they locate the core, and as Quickthinks looks on, Mide clambers atop the heart of the machine and brings it to a shuddering halt. Strangely, however, the Illuminati Grand Master seems wholly unconcerned, leading Biggs and Wedge to wonder aloud if he had reckoned on the party succeeding in reaching the core. Their fears are confirmed when it is revealed that a contingent of Illuminati stormed into Idleshire while the core was being disabled, making off with some trinkets from the camp. Mercifully, it would seem the Illuminati who stole them did not get far, as Cid and Biggs soon return with an unconscious thief, along with 2 crates loaded with stolen trinkets. Roundrocks subsequently deduces that the Illuminati were actually looking for her glowstone. To everyone's surprise, the strange crystal lights up with the child's touch, revealing itself to be a fragment of the Enigma Codex, and the missing piece of Quick-Thinks' plan. Though it is safe for the time being, Sid is certain that the Illuminati will not stop until they have claimed their prize, and counsels the Warrior of Light to be ready. Upon discovering its nature, Roundrocks decides to give her beloved glowstone to Mide, so that the treasure hunter can share in the joy it has brought the young goblin. And even though she is hesitant at first, Mide eventually concedes to the proposal. Later, Ishtola arrives on the scene bearing news that high volumes of ether are being drawn into Alexander, indicating that the Illuminati have resumed their efforts to awaken the Primal. In response to this, Wedge unveils his new invention, a device which he plans to use to throw Illuminati communications into disarray, affording the party the opportunity to take them unawares. Upon activating the device, however, another of Alexander's giant limbs screeches into life, coming to rest on the opposite bank of the Thaliac. Though all has not gone quite to plan, it seems the hatch to the left arm is momentarily unguarded, allowing the Warrior of Light and his comrades to enter while still holding the element of surprise. Unbeknownst to them, however, Quick-Thinks stands watch from afar, proclaiming that everything is going according to plan, or more accurately, that the future is unfolding exactly as written. After once more returning from Alexander's innards, Biggs confronts Mide after having seen her giving the Codex fragment to the Illuminati. Mide reveals that the fragment she handed over was but a fake, but she still confesses that she had in fact been planning to use both her newfound companions and the Illuminati to summon the Primal. She is not so brazen, however, as to deny those present an explanation. She duly relates the events of 3 years past, when she and several companions set out to summon Alexander, and realized the perfect world described in the Enigma Codex. When the summoning subsequently failed, her companions were killed, and their leader, which Mide had grown to love, absorbed into the Primal's core. Mide reveals at last that her true motive for attempting to revive the Metal Colossus was to be reunited once more with the man she loved, believing that his soul yet resides within the Primal. Furthermore, she explains that 2 things are required for complete control over Alexander. The first one being a complete Enigma Codex, and the second, someone with the ability to read it. Although the Codex no longer responds to Mide, Roundrocks is somehow able to view its contents, making her participation essential for any who hope to manipulate the Primal. Unfortunately, it seems the Illuminati may already have reached the same conclusion, for no sooner than Mide uttered the words than a breathless Wedge arrives with terrible news of Roundrocks having been captured. They make their way into the Colossus once more, where Mide quickly disables the core powering Alexander's left arm. Before there is time to celebrate, however, Quick-Thinks appears on a hovering platform, flanked by a group of underlings. The Illuminati Grand Master duly indulges in his characteristic cryptic remarks, before declaring that he knows exactly who holds the true Codex fragment. Though Wedge and Biggs make a valiant effort to divert the goblin's attention, while the Warrior of Light and Mide escape, their plan comes to naught when the moving platform on which they are standing stops without warning, catapulting the Codex fragment out of the treasure hunter's grasp. With grim inevitability, it lands on Quick-Thinks' still functioning platform, and he gleefully departs the scene. Returning to camp, they are surprised to find that their mission only took mere moments to complete. and wonder what could be the cause of such a bizarre temporal anomaly. In order to get to the bottom of the mystery, they call upon Cid, who is accompanied by Y'shtola. As they arrive, the ground begins to tremble, and they rush to gain a better view of Alexander. At which time, Cid witnesses a surprising phenomena. Borrowing Y'shtola's goggles, he is able to see how the flow of ether that had been leaking from the Primal reverses, as if time itself had been turned back. Although they cannot fully explain this phenomena, they concede that Alexander may possess a means to manipulate time. Within Alexander, the Illuminati proceed in their efforts to restore the Enigma Codex, using the recovered fragments and the captive Roundrocks. Having restored the Codex, Quick Thinks reverses time and declares that the Illuminati will rule the world once Alexander becomes fully operational, mending the mistakes of the past and reshaping the world to perfection, thereby fulfilling the prophecy of the Enigma Codex. Hoping to deprive Alexander of ether, yet another infiltration mission is launched. But even though they are successful in clearing a passage to the third and final core, the resulting mood of optimism is tempered by Y'shtola's failure to relieve Alexander of his source of power. At their wits' end, Cid and Y'shtola question Mide, who reveals a heretofore untold twist in the tale of the summoning. Specifically, the part played by an ancient horn entrusted to her by a strange man in her youth. Y'shtola quickly identifies the horn as the lost treasure of Seal Rock, the self-same artifact that once eluded her grasp. She also recognizes the stranger in Mide's story as an Ascian. Y'shtola further surmises that Alexander's third core is somehow bound to the relic, and will thus continue to drink ether from its surrounding until the land is reduced to a barren waste. Finally mounting a rescue operation to save Roundrocks, the party successfully infiltrates Central Control, where they find Roundrocks chained to a metal chair. Projected on the ceiling above her is the Enigma Codex, its vast knowledge and powers now open to the Illuminati by their cruel manipulation of the Goblin Girl's mind. Mide rushes to her friend's side, and the delirious Roundrocks indicates that Alexander is now fully operational, capable of traveling through time. While Mide wistfully contemplates what she might do with such power, Roundrocks engages the time travel engine, transporting the Colossus and all within 3 years into the past, to the fateful day when Mide and her fellow treasure hunters attempted to summon the Primal. From a perch high atop the Colossus, Biggs and Wedge duly bear witness to what truly happened. Illuminati snipers emerge from within the steel fortress and fire upon the treasure hunters in the midst of their ritual. As chaos ensues, their leader Dayan declares the summoning a failure and orders the fresh-faced Mide to seal the Primal away, before sacrificing himself to save her life. After watching her beloved disappear into the Primal's howling core, she slumps to the earth, bereft and broken. Meanwhile, back atop the Colossus, Shanoa, Quick Thinks' cat, conspicuously hurls herself at Backrix, a goblin who had accompanied them to document the unfolding events, and knocks the journal from the goblin's hands and down to the ground below. With a blinding flash, the time travel mechanism is disengaged, and the Colossus returns to the present time. There, the party is met by Quick Thinks, who reveals the most chilling truth of all. That time is a circle, an infinite loop. And the Primal that Mide and her companions summoned 3 years ago was in fact the self-same one that bore them to the past in scant moments before. The Illuminati Grand Master gleefully thanks the intruders for playing out their roles in the preordained history before driving them out. As the party retreats, however, Mide, devastated by the knowledge that she is powerless to change either her past or her future, chooses to remain behind, unwilling to abandon the soul of her beloved. Returning to the Colossus, the party ponders how to cut off the influx of ether to Alexander's core. Sid and Wedge begin to consider the details of their plan, but their conversation is interrupted by Quickthinks, who descends on a floating platform to inform them that the discussion is entirely moot, since he has already seen the future. Events take an unexpected turn, however, when Shanoa suddenly throws herself at Quickthinks as he is floating away, knocking his prized future book out of his hands and down to the floor below. Backwicks quickly takes the tome in his hand and is astonished to see that it is none other than his very own Watcher book, with the final entry ending precisely where he had left off, when Shanoa knocked the self-same book out of his hands. While many of the convoluted details remain unclear, one thing is certain. For all of Quickthinks' bravado and bluster, the future from here onward remains unwritten, and the battle for history may yet be won. In the hopes of winning the day, the party enters the main generator, where they are greeted by Quickthinks, who calls upon Alexander to deliver the judgment of time upon the unworthy. Seemingly from nowhere, a smaller, though still passably enormous, embodiment of the Colossus appears before them, summoning forth a massive energy field, and for an instant time stops. The field soon dissipates, however, prompting an obviously perturbed Quickthinks to order Alexander to simply annihilate the trespassers. After besting the miniature manifestation of Alexander, known as Alexander Prime, the party storms into the control room, where Stola calls upon Roundrocks to access the Enigma Codex and disable the flow of ether to the core. The plan goes awry, however, when Quickthinks reveals that he too can read the Codex, an ability he concealed, hoping to sacrifice the Goblin Girl's life instead of his own, in the event that the fully awakened Alexander's power was too great to control. Just when it appears certain that he will succeed in traveling to the past and snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, Mide emerges from the shadows and shoots him in the head, ending his schemes once and for all. Now, there is nothing preventing Roundrocks from turning off the flow of ether to the core, which he duly does, at long last quelling the primal threat. As they prepare to leave, Quickthinks' corpse stirs to life with a series of whirs and clicks, and he reassumes control of the Colossus, boasting that he has mechanically enhanced his body to the point that physical wounds are of no consequence to him. He reissues the command to return to the past, but at the moment of the Illuminati Grandmaster's triumph, Alexander itself defies his order, sending a surge of energy back through the Enigma Codex that shatters it into innumerable pieces, overloading the mechanized goblin circuits with fatal consequences. With the Codex gone, the core begins to run out of control. In that instant, Mide discovers that her long-cherished belief is true. Her beloved's soul lives on inside the machine and is calling out to her. With a smile of acceptance, she says her farewells and casts herself into the core. As the Colossus begins to lose power, the Warrior of Light almost swears you can hear a voice, assuring him that Alexander is in safe hands. Inside the core, Mide is reunited with Dayan, who explains that Alexander calculated all possible timelines, and then chose to not interfere with the naturally occurring future, deeming itself a threat to the world. Thus, it sealed itself within a capsule of frozen time, with Dayan and Mide within its core to protect it from ever being reactivated. Although Mide's friends are initially saddened by her fate, they soon learn of a legend that states that in ancient times, two Aura named Dayan and Mide emerged from Alexander and founded the blue-haired Hot Gold Shrine, giving them hope that they will someday be freed from their perpetual duty. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video, and please consider subscribing. Bird sounds, caca.